The Bible is always open to interpretation.
The Bible is so confusing. Every Christian cherry picks.
Everybody does.
You're not supposed to lie, you lie. Yeah. So how can you not interpret it in so many ways? And it's been obviously transcribed so many times, adding the word homosexual and all this, and it's just...
The doctrine of hell, not very clear.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
It's all just, if you look at the God that's portrayed in the Old Testament and the New Testament both, it looks a lot more like us than it looks like an all-knowing, all-good kind of situation. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh yeah, this totally came to get people to cooperate with the power,
Jealousy, vengeance, these are human qualities.
My argument or my issue with interpreting is that, we as human beings, that's what we do. We have something and we have to interpret it. My issue is it all boils down and distilled to, is it divine or is it not? Mm-hmm. And am I allowed to pick things out or am I not? There are so many issues with the claim of divinity, because it's not that it's open to interpretation, it's that it's always being interpreted. There are conclaves,
so many languages.
Yeah, that are built just to do that. Mm-hmm. To decide which book goes in, which book comes out,
Yeah, Martin Luther took out like 10 books or something, and they're like, why'd you do that? And he's like, that's not what God wanted. It's like, oh, okay, Martin Luther. Yeah.
One of the biggest reasons why I step forward is, again, because I think it's a guideline, not an absolute. It was tough for me because I'm very much like, I believe in Jesus Christ and whatever God says he wants, and it's tough to even realistically do that every day. Like every day I sin because I kiss this man that I love, and then I jump on a box and go to OnlyFans. You know what I mean? Like it's tough feeling like everything that you do, that's just an everyday thing, and it has zero to do with how you treat people. At the end of the day, the rainbow that it gets to and stuff and pot of gold is that Jesus Christ is all loving. He loves everybody. He hung out with someone who was like a whore.
Hey, don't slow down.
And was like, hey, you still can be this good person. Don't let the world tell you this. But I believe that in some way, the Bible is telling you that. Is telling you like, this is, hey, it's okay to not be this. I think it's maybe organized religion that gets it muffled, and then there's all this hate towards everyone. Because I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't think that Jesus Christ hated
trying to
any
organize all of the Bible and make it make sense, that's going to fail. Not very clear whether it's telling us to do good things or do bad things. It has kind of a combination of both in there.
Shucks. It does have, but it's a guideline, right? The bad that it does have in it is more of like teaching you that you shouldn't. He's not saying that you won't lie or fib or make mistakes, or he's just saying you shouldn't. Not that you won't, you just shouldn't. Like, you shouldn't kill someone. I mean, that's a bad example because you shouldn't kill someone and you won't kill someone, obviously, but I don't know. I need to educate myself more before I start even.
Thank you. I'm actually glad that you brought up the whole translations thing, because that is something that I used to question as well. And once I looked into it, every modern translation of the Bible is actually translated from Greek, Hebrew, or Aramaic, which are ancient languages. So it's not that we're just continuing to translate from whatever was modern to another modern, no. And that's why if you've ever heard of the Dead Sea Scrolls, it's ancient text from the Bible, where if you were to compare it to the Bible today, only things different is like punctuation.
But that's amazing, because that was one of the most amazing discoveries of this century, in that they discovered the Dead Sea Scrolls and they thought they would correct all these mistakes in the Bible, but it was so amazing that 99.99% was accurate, so they were amazed.
2 Peter chapter 1 verse 20 tells us that no scripture is for interpretation. So it's actually for us to accept rather than understand. And for me personally, when I try to understand, so I have a kid, when he was 5 years old, I tried to explain to him mortgage. I had money in my pocket, I was still poor, I was living in the projects, right? My kid was like, let me get bubble gum. And I was like, I can't, I don't have enough money, I don't want to buy him the clothes. I couldn't buy him the clothes. But in his mind, he was understanding it as, Dad, you don't love me, right? And I'm like, but I do love you. As much as I explained it to him, he couldn't understand it. He was very miserable because of that. The Bible tells us, at least for me, that we're all children in God. Like we're finite beings. We cannot understand infinite things. So when I learned to stop trying to understand rather and just accept, then I was able to truly be free. For me personally.
That's like
Sounds
growing
amazing.
up. It was like I would ask
that.
my parents, because
Breakdown.
my parents are super religious, Trumpers, borderline QAnon. Scary.
2024. Let's go.
And I was terrified of the rapture. Anytime I said anything about the rapture, it's always just like, well, you're thinking with your human brain. You're not thinking with your heavenly brain. I'm like, but I only have a human brain. Like, I can only understand what I can understand here.
Can I ask you something too? I wanted to know, like, so do you believe, like, say, if someone's kind and treats people right and is a really good-hearted soul, but say they really don't believe in anything, perhaps, God, right? Do you believe that they're gonna burn just because they don't believe?
I think that God invites us all to have a life with him in eternity. And I think a lot of times we're like, he's just want to throw people in hell, but he's like, if you want to be with me in eternity, these are the qualifications. Jesus is the only
So that's
way.
a yes.
Yes.
Conditionally, but terms and
So yeah,
conditions
you
apply.
think they'll burn
So
in
that's
hell.
a yes. The good person will burn in hell.
If they don't know Jesus, yes, they will not be with God for eternity.
Yeah, so that makes me not want to know that guy.
I think step back a little because
should
we've
go
been
back to the
dancing
prompt.
around it a little
Yeah.
bit, but relating to the prompt though, I would like to know how you became ex-Christians. I think that might help
Actually,
us.
yeah, that'd be really nice.
By reading the Bible.
Okay.
I think that's
When you
a
disagreed.
common thing.
Yeah. Well,
Do you mind
I
if I ask if you have a religion?
I do not have any organized religion. I don't really believe in anything supernatural. I am technically part of the Satanic Temple. We only have 7 rules. We don't have an entire book. We don't need to,
Is that considered a religion? I'm just curious.
It is technically considered a religion, but it's like the religion to end all religions. They really hate organized religion. They kind of want to just have everybody.
The mission of the Satanic Temple, a religious organization, is to encourage benevolence and empathy among all people, reject tyrannical authority, advocate practical common sense, oppose injustice, and undertake noble pursuits. The devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy, mislead, and lie. One thing I've learned from the Satanic Temple, stop, I've not learned nothing as far as like, I'm not educated in them. I mean, from what I've heard or seen like in shows or read online, is that the Satanic, that it's all about feeling good. Whatever feels good. You don't have to do anything that makes you feel bad. Benevolence, it's all about benevolence and empathy. It's all about not doing anything to like feel bad, right? Or like if you mess up, there is no reason for you to feel guilty because there is nothing to correct. Like there is no sin technically, right? So it's like being able to do whatever you want. And I feel like that in itself doesn't really make sense anyway, because even when you're a kid, there is rules, there is guidelines that you have to live by. There is just stuff that you have to go by. And whenever you reject those rules, there is a punishment. That's just life, right? But you're saying that you expect God, the creator of all, the Father, your Father, the Father, to like be less than a human and just after so many chances, right? After 100 years of chances, 100 years of opportunities to meet me, 100 years of, because most people live 90 years, 60 years. Do you expect it to be like, okay, well, you messed up for 60 years and you never accepted my olive branch, and still I'm supposed to forgive you? But humans, if you mess up one time, you get thrown in jail or you get a ticket, you get some type of punishment. But you're saying that if God punishes you, that's the limit. Like that's where it's like, that's where the cutoff is, where that's just too much. So I'd rather go join a religion that tells me I don't have to deal with consequences. I don't have to worry about pain or suffering, or probably not pain or suffering, but just like consequences, just guilt. I can just be myself as long as I'm a good person, right? Which that's good. Be a good person. God is not telling you to not be a good person. Be a good person. But you're saying you don't want the guilt of messing up. So instead of having with guilt or like, and think about guilt is guilt kind of makes you want to be a better person, right? Whenever you mess up and you have that thing in your heart where like, man, I shouldn't have did that. That kind of makes you want to change or adapt or be like, you know what, let me go apologize. In this world or this satanic temple, I'm assuming, they're like, oh, I messed up. I don't even got to go apologize. Like the guilt, why would I feel bad about that? Like there's no reason to apologize because there is no punishment for your wrong. So why apologize? Why be a better person? Reject it's tyrannical authority, advocate practical common sense, oppose injustice, and undertake noble pursuits. Man, the devil tricks you into thinking like ugly stuff is beautiful, bro. Because what they're saying is not like these laws or rules that they have here are not bad rules, right? Oppose injustice, obviously. Undertake noble pursuits, obviously. The Bible talks about that, obviously. Advocate practical common sense, obviously. Reject tyrannical authority. Like what they're saying is not nothing the Bible hasn't said, I feel like. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I was reading my Bible today this morning, my devotion today, and it basically says, love your neighbor as you would love yourself, right? Or as Christ loved you. And what more kind of love, what bigger, greater love is there than someone that would sacrifice their entire life for you? What greater love is that? So everything that the Satanic Temple stands for, as far as like what they encourage you to do, is basically what love is. That's what love is, right? But the devil literally wants you to, satanic or Satan, I don't know. He wants you to just replace the God, Jesus, with him. It's the same. The rules are the same. I'm going on. Oh my gosh. For the entire law is fulfilled in keeping this one command: love your neighbor as yourself. Because you don't want to be mistreated. You don't mistreat yourself. You don't hurt yourself. You ain't trying to hurt. You know, like everything with that, how you would treat yourself is how God expects you to treat your neighbor, with love, with peace, with kindness, oppose injustice, undertake noble pursuits, practical common sense, obviously, reject tyrannical authority, like benevolence, empathy among people, show empathy, like all of it's love. It's what he wants to do. But the devil is tricking you into thinking that that's his thing, because he wants you to do all of that, but without the guilt. So if you do mess up, if you do slip up, if you do backslide, if you do make sin, but they don't believe in sin, so but if you do mess up, he's like, don't even worry about it. That's no big deal. You ain't got to grow. You ain't got to improve. No, that's just wild.
Focus on humanity, putting differences aside, treating each other with respect.
I guess what I'm asking is, so there was a time when you called yourself a Christian.
Of course.
How did you become an ex-Christian? What made that change?
So it all started when my family, I was 22 years old. I started asking, like, specifically, like, if you wanted an example of something. The Bible says in Exodus 20, these are the 10 commandments, and then it lists things that God only verbally spoke. But then later, if you go to Exodus 34, it mentions the 10 commandments, and they're a little bit different. I would encourage you to go look at Exodus 34, especially the 10th commandment. Do not boil a goat in its mother's milk. Yeah. That's a fun one. We should be adhering to that today, right?
Well, if Jesus never came and created a new covenant, then yeah, there's a lot of things we'd still be doing.
Sure.
There you go.
Those are part of the 613 laws, which is called the mitzvah. And people don't know that we're not under those laws anymore. We're also not under pretty much any law, because it says Romans 6:14, we're free. Right, we're free from the law.
I mean, that's
under
just
grace.
one example. If you really want to focus on the things that most Christians say should be relevant, that would be the Gospels, right?
Sure.
You guys would agree with that?
Oh, absolutely.
Right, so let's look at all 4 Gospels, let's compare them to one another, and tell me that there are not contradictions in them. that
There's no
one event
contradictions in the
happened
Bible.
and also the simultaneous other event happened. Like, was Judas, did he die in the desert or did somebody kill him? Like,
It never says anybody killed him. It says he hung himself.
yeah, he hung
He fell
himself.
headlong, right? And then
Yeah, or was he killed by the people that he was paid off by?
I mean, we could have a nitpicking
dogs.
theological discussion with all these different passages.
shouldn't
Well, not
we
for
could,
kids,
but we
yeah,
also
Bible
should.
says
But I
later,
also want to
that's
know,
not the
so
message.
your experience, is that similar
go to your
difficulty
Bible
with the Bible, so you kind of walked away?
So I talked about my epiphany experience, but also when I came out to my mom, I went to, Christian camp and Bible college. When I came out to my mom, she ripped up my birth certificate and sent it to me.
Oh my gosh.
Which is very
See, that's what messes up a lot of people, non-Christians or Christians that now are not Christians. When our parents who are stuck in they forget the love your neighbor as you would yourself. The only law God has is love thy father, like put every love thy brother, thy neighbor, and just love Christ as you would. The one commandment. Hold up. Pause right here. I gotta look this up. This is why I'm saying, like, it's not good to have this conversation when you're not educated in it. Like, I'm familiar with it, but I can't just quote it. Right here, where even the parents, okay, it says, John 13:34. I give you a new law. Have love for one another, even as I have had love for you, so are you to have love for one another. Like parents, whenever they react like that, you're not exemplifying what Christ said that we should exemplify, right? The old commandment, the Old Testament, that's dead and gone, like the laws, right? The laws. That's like, okay, you don't have to worry about not eating meat. Okay, you don't have to worry about building a temple as far as like and having to go in there and make a sacrifice or kill or sacrifice a goat every Sunday or whatever the case might have been, or build the temple specifically with this type of bird and that. Bro, all of that is cool, but you ain't got to do that no more. All you have to do now is love. Have love for one another, even as I have had love for you. That is it, right? That is it. So whenever someone in your family comes out, example right here, this young lady came out to her mom rips up the birth certificate and then tells her whatever she's telling it. Like, that's not exemplifying Christ. Like, that's not a great reaction. That's not like a great way of being like, well, let's work and let's talk on it. Let's. But if you want, it's most Christians that become non-Christians are pushed out of the Christian walk or the life because of someone in the Christian walk them itself, right? Either by a pastor, a family member, like someone that's close to you that's supposed to be a Christian but doesn't live up to that. And then you're like, well, I'm not going to be a Christian no more, which is bad because now that person that's now out of Christianity loses God because of you, and now you're going to hell because of somebody else. But it's tough because I understand that pain. Like, I don't understand that pain specifically, but I understand like why you would feel like this isn't for me. Like the one person that I trust most in my life, that I love the most, you know what I'm saying, is telling me this is like you don't react that way.
I said to my therapist, I was like, oh,
That's horrible.
that was so passive aggressive. My therapist was like, no, that was aggressive.
No passive.
But, we came to find each other. I was the only of her 5 kids that was holding her hand when she died.
Oh my gosh.
We prayed together. But that experience was one of the ones where I was like, it's not just about me. I lost 2 partners in a row to cancer, which is just, kind of
horrible.
Yeah. But I know that there is something that I have faith in, and it's not Christianity and it's not God, but that I was the right people to sit with both those women as they died, right?
Yeah.
And that is like what I have faith in. I wish that I still had Christianity. I wish that that was something that I could still stomach because, like, I mean, except for you saying you like Trump, like, I think we would have a lot of fun, right? Like, I already like it.
Trump doesn't have to come. I love Trump. He don't got to be there.
So, you know, I still have that faith. I just wish it could come in a Christian package, but that just does not work for me. I feel like the world is too big for that.
And I see your reaction when she mentioned the birth certificate. Most of the good Christian friends that I have react the same way as you do. And the problem is, that's the norm. Her experience in Christian households is the norm.
That's crazy.
It's the norm. I came out to my family. I am a happily married man for 15 years, and my family hates me because of that. You know, there's
that's so
an
wild
issue
to
with
me.
that. So that becomes the norm. And when that's the norm, you need to really question, you know, what's happening in there.
So I feel like a lot of people think that Christians are allowed to judge, and if they don't read the Bible, they don't understand that we're not allowed to judge. So that's why a lot of this sounds like kind of your personal problems with your families who claim to be Christian, and this is no disrespect, but if you really are Christian, you're not called to judge anybody. We're all interconnected by sin. If I stand in front of God as an ex-gang member and you stand in front of God as a homosexuality, we're both on the same level. So we have to recognize that. So I do agree with people when they say, you know, the community here, when they're saying that, you know, Christianity and people try to act as holier than thou. That's not what true Christianity is.
100%.
I'm just hearing you said my mom wasn't a good Christian. Now I'm mad at you for that. Yeah, like my mom was a good Christian. She was doing what her, I mean, maybe a little dramatic, right? It seems a little gay to wrap up, you know, some of these. Oh my God, you know. But my mom was a good Christian. Like, she was doing what she thought she needed to do to keep me from going to hell. Like, no joke. That's what she thought was the most loving thing in that moment.
There's a right way to go.
No, but there is a way. Thank you. There is a way to go about it. Like, yes, like not agreeing with your lifestyle, but also ripping up your stuff and saying I disown. Like this. Like that's not the Christian. It's not.
If I may add to that, what you said is correct. You know, if you want to be a rightful, you know, correct Christian, you're not called to judge. The problem is going back to what I mentioned, it's the norm. So we need to ask ourselves what is happening with the majority of Christian families or households that are all reacting like that.
Yeah, y'all could just go talk to your people, please. That would be great.
Believe me, I do.
Yeah, I know you do.
Hey, I know this discussion.
Oh, shucks. You're not. All right, sis. You're not. It's tough. It's tough. It's just the way you go about it. We're humans, and humans are gonna do human things, right? So naturally, we're judgmental, and we're who we are. So we'll judge, but it's up to us to control that. But to another point, if you're not studying your word,